All right, sixth graders, another day, another math lesson. Today we're going to be combining two different lessons. We're going to be taking a look at 2-4, which is the distributive property, and 2-5, which is mental math. These work really well together because we're going to be using the distributive property to do some of our mental math. Now, distributive property is one that you've probably touched on before. You've probably taken a look at it, but we're going to be going over it a little bit more. Now, if you're looking at the book or looking at the worksheet, the definition's kind of crazy. It says this. It says the distributive property states that multiplying a sum, or a difference, by the number gives the same result as multiplying each number in the sum, or difference, by the number and adding or subtracting the products. Now, it seems a little goofy, but we're going to be going through some examples, and I think that will help quite a bit. Our first one, let's take a look at this. Here they're saying 8 times 7 plus 23. All right, remember when they're right next to each other, that's going to be showing multiplication. Okay, so here 8 times, and then parentheses 7 plus 23. They're saying that this is the exact same thing as going 8 times 7, and then adding it, whoops, sorry, I want the parentheses on the other side, 8 times 23. Now, if we were to go through the work of all of this one, we could figure out and be like, okay, let's see. Now, parentheses first, 7 plus 23, okay, that's 30. So that's our parentheses. So 8 times 30 is 240. Now, we're going to see if we get the same on this side. Here it says 8 times 7, which would be 56, plus 8 times 23, which, not going to lie, use my calculator, is 184. When we add those two together, we get that same answer of 240. Now, this is a really good example of how numbers work differently. If we're taking a look at this problem on this side, doing that 8 times 7, okay, and that 8 times 23, and then adding them together involves a lot more work to get that same answer of 240. Now, on this side, if we did our parentheses first, now if we do 8 times 30, that's a piece of cake. That's a multiplication fact that you guys know. 8 times 3 is 24, add our 0. Distributive property is really good with mental math because it definitely shows which is going to be a little bit easier to do. Now, oftentimes, especially like in 5th grade, sometimes you guys talk about this one as being like the rainbow method. Way that you want to think about that one, if we do our 8 times 7, and then we do our 8 times 23, it's going to be that same thing. So you guys may have seen this before. If that helps you as a visual, that's perfectly fine. Part of your assignment is just going to be taking a look at filling in blanks. So there might be part of your assignment where maybe we just wouldn't have that number there. So that number would be missing. If that number is missing, you need to take a look at what you already have, what you have over here, and what would be missing in that spot with that 7. Now, distributive property can be shown in a lot of different ways, and that's just one way right there. Our next one we're going to take a look at is if we have 3 times 30. Now, 3 times 30, we can also take this number and we can break it apart. Now, we can break it apart in different ways. We could do 3 times, now, you guys remember this is our 10 spot. So we could do 3 times 30, and then we could add it to our 3 times 0. Now, we know that that's going to be 0. We know that that's going to be 90. Same as our answer, we're on this side. We can also use different numbers. Say if we want to take this 30 and break it down, sometimes you might see it look like this. So 3 times 30 is going to be the exact same thing as 3 times 28 plus 3 times, now to think about what goes in there, we need to think about the number that we have. What do we have over here? What's left over is that 2. So this one here is telling us that 3 times 30, which we know that's going to be 90, is going to be the same thing as if we go, okay, 3 times 28, which is 84, and then 3 times 2, which is 6, add those together, 90 for that same answer. So if we take that number and break it apart, that is what our distributive property is going to be taking a look at. Now it also works with subtraction. For example, if we have 20 times 5, that's a 5, not an S, okay, minus 20 times 2, we know that is going to be the exact same thing as 20 times what? Take a look at what we have. But keep in mind the sign that we have. This spot, it's going to be a 3. So if we're taking a look at this, 20 times 5, we have 100, minus 20 times 2, which is 40. We're going to subtract, we get 60, which over here, 20 times 3, same thing as that 60. Okay? I'm going to show you one more, taking a look at our distributive property, and that's this one right here, 9 times 23. Now, this one right here, we're going to take a look at that rainbow method I was talking about earlier. Now, 9 times 3, I mean, we could attempt to do in our head, we can do it on the side. But really what the distributive property is taking a look at is trying to figure out a way that you can multiply this quickly and in your head. So it's kind of focusing on that mental math, which is the second part of our lesson. Here, we could take a look at the 9 to the tens place and then that 9 to the ones place. What I mean by that is first, we're going to do our 9 times, we're going to look in that tens place, we have 9 times 20. Now, even though it's just a 2 there, you guys think about the place value it's in. It's in the tens place, so it will be 20. And then we have our 9 times 3. Now, if we're taking a look at this one, we can easily do that. 9 times 2, okay, yep, that's going to be 18. We're going to add our 0 at the end. And then our 9 times 3, basic fact, we know what that is, and that's going to be 27. There, if we add those together, what we have 207. So this is just a way to break up that number, okay? Breaking up that 23 to something that's a little bit more manageable and something easier for you to do your multiplication. So we broke it up into 2 and 3. We could do our multiplication, and we'd have gained that 207. So distributive property, taking a look at either combining those numbers or else breaking those numbers apart. Now, I'm going to take a look at another example here. This is going to be leaning more towards our mental math part of this. When it comes to mental math, distributive property is a great way to help you kind of solve these ones. And I'm going to show you this example right here. 7 times 29. Now, 7 times 29, and by the way, you guys, calculators, nope, okay? Don't use a calculator on this one. Now, am I going to know if you use a calculator? No, I have no idea what you're doing at home. However, I want you to try to solve these ones using your mental math. If you want to go back and check with a calculator later, you can definitely do that. But the whole idea behind this lesson is seeing if you can do it without a calculator and trying to find out those different ways. Now, if you wanted, you could go that 29 times 7, multiplied on the side, go through all that stuff. Yeah, no. That's not what we're doing today. Instead, we're taking a look at how we can break this up. I would break this up into our tens and our ones. So it'd be as 7 times 20 with our tens, and then our 7 times our 1, which would be 7 times 9. Here, 7 times 20 is going to equal 140, 7 times 2, and then add our 0. And then 7 times 9 is one of our basic facts, which is going to be 63. We can add those up, and we have 203. Okay, so we're breaking up those numbers and the things that we can do in our head as we're going through. Another one, let's take a look at this. 5 times 22, parentheses, plus 5 times 8. Now, distributive property for this one, this is going to be taking a look at combining for our distributive property. Now, here, 5 times 22, and then adding that 5 times 8, okay? It's a lot of math. It's a lot of things that we don't need to do here. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to combine our stuff in our parentheses because we have that same number on the outside. Now, if we had different numbers on the outside, we could not do this. But the fact that we have 2 5s on the outside, that 5 can stay on the outside, and then now our inside number is going to be 30. We're combining our 5s, and then we're combining our parentheses. So now we have 5 times 30. Easy to do. 5 times 3 is 15. Add our 0. So that one is going to be 150. Okay? Remember, it only works if we have that same number on the outside. Now, another part of our mental math, beyond just taking a look at the distributive property, is taking a look at what we call compatible numbers. Now, we looked at this earlier when we were taking a look at some of our estimating for fractions. We're taking a look at estimating for decimals as well. But compatible numbers are taking a look at numbers that work together, numbers that are going to make things a little bit easier for you. The examples I'm going to show you look like this. What if we have 5 times 28 times 20? Now remember, our properties that we already talked about. When we're dealing with addition and multiplication, we have the commutative property. We can change our order and still get our same answer. So if we're taking a look at this problem, it's always important to look for things that are going to equal 10, 100, any of those powers of 10. Now if I take a look at this one, I know that 5 times 20 is going to give me a number that's powers of 10. 5 times 2 is 10. We have our 0 at the end. So 5 times 20 is going to be 100. Now we have left to multiply by our 28. You guys, anytime that we have those powers 100, it's simple. We're just adding those zeros at the end. So 100 times 28, 2,800. So we could have gone step by step, but instead we're looking at numbers that we can multiply together first that are going to make this one easier. We know that our 5 times 20 is going to give us that powers of 10, and then we can simply multiply it by our 28. We can also do this taking a look at addition. When we're taking a look at ones for addition, same thing, those powers of 10 are going to be helpful. So here we have 42 plus 39 plus 8. Taking a look, if we're dealing with any powers of 10, so anything with that 0 at the end is really what's going to be helpful. Here we have 42 and 8. Best do that one first. If we have 42 plus 8, that's going to equal 50. Now we have our 50 plus 39, a lot easier than having to go through all of those steps. 9, 8. So total of 89. So when we're taking a look at our mental math problems, all of them are going to be ones where it's going to make sense to do something first. So here, it made sense to add these ones first, so we had a 0 at the end. Okay, the one before, to multiply those two first, so we had that 100. The ones that I'm going to be giving you for examples are going to be pretty clear-cut, where you should do those ones first. It's going to be a worksheet very similar to the order of operations one from yesterday, where I will give you guys the examples and the problems, and you'll just be writing the answer on that worksheet. If you have questions, please make sure that you ask. Once again, I recommend, and I'm actually kind of telling you guys, please do not use a calculator on this. You can check with the calculator later, but really I want to see if you're able to take a look at those numbers and really kind of change them around and figure out ways that are going to be working best for you. Now, what works best for you might not work best for another person that's watching this exact same video. So you need to find the numbers that work for you to do that addition or that multiplication, whatever it may be. Once again, if you have questions, please make sure that you send me a message. If it's one that you think would work for everybody, so it's one that would benefit the whole group, please do it on the actual assignment, that stream right there. If it's something that's more specific just to you, you can either send me a private message on Google Classrooms or send me an email. If you want to go over a couple more examples, just let me know. We can always do a video chat as well. Okay, have a good one. Bye.